So let's talk a little bit about Wild Tomorrow in South Africa.
Yeah.
What prompted your heart to want to be part of this trip? And what are you hoping to be able to share when you come back?
Well, so for years and decades now, Juana and I have been friends. And as is the custom with besties, sometimes we look back and we go like, wow, how did that happen? Like the development of a deep friendship doesn't happen like instantaneously. Not unlike creating a piece of art. It is like these small moments of little bits of trust and revealing little bits of things. And before, then one day you look back and go, oh my gosh, our lives are so intertwined, right? One of the things that we've discussed at length is how different we are in so many ways. We're so alike in a number of ways, but our outwardly we appear to the world very different. We're born in different countries, different skin tones, like a lot of things that really don't inform our friendship at all.
Right.
In some ways do. In terms of how we approach things and look at things and look at the world. And we were talking one day about how having friendships with somebody who is very different than you in some way is so expanding as a person. You you get to know them and you get to see past the differences that most people see on the surface. And then when you get underneath, you realize how similar that we are on a universal level. And we were talking about that, about the importance of spending quality time with people who are very different from you. Not as like a Pokemon thing. I got to collect them all.
Right.
that
No,
that
I
would be
get that.
awful, like no, but honestly because you are genuinely interested in knowing all people and understanding all people and where they come from. And if you understand how a person has grown up and learned and lived up to the point that you meet them. And then you get to know them better and you get to understand how similar you are and yet why they may think differently about something than you do because you've had a very different lived experience than they do. And then you can share that together and create a deeper understanding. And through understanding, you sort of erase judgment. There's just a knowledge of why the person is that way, not a judgment, just an understanding. And we were talking about how art cuts through so much of the surface stuff. When you make art with somebody, you really can't be concerned about yeah, who their parents were or where they live. You're immediately into something deeper. Why does this composition work? What are we trying to say? What story are we telling? And both of us had a deep interest with getting to know people all over the world and see how they were creating and to see how their methods of creating differed from ours and how they were similar and what we could learn from one another. And so, in as much as Wild Tomorrow is obviously about saving and rewilding the land, it's also, they are very much an organization that concerns themselves with the people and the animals who live on the land. And that to me seemed like the holistic sort of approach that we need. Because as we were talking about before, when we create something with somebody, whether it's a drawing or whether it's a rewilded space
Right.
or whether it's a creche or a school, we are learning together. To create something with somebody is to immediately establish a level of intimacy and rapport with them that can take ages of lunches or chit chats or
Right.
small talk. And I don't believe that we have ages and ages to figure out these sorts of problems that are facing us today. We really need to just get in there and get our hands dirty. And whether that's by creating like an erosion barrier or getting in there and finding out what you don't know about people and what they don't know about you, that was fascinating to me. And so when John and Haley said, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "You bet I do." Like, let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go save some rhinos and some people and the planet, and in turn save each other. This isn't about like going somewhere and fixing somebody else's problems. This is about learning how we can like take they're doing there and, like a tomato plant, transplant it someplace else, right? Like if that's working there, let's try it here. You know, we need to be cross pollinating, to use another gardening metaphor.